The Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get your free financial survival toolkit and find out where to buy gold and silver safely at great prices. Sign up at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
1490 WGCH. This is Kerry Lutz, and you're listening to the Financial Survival Network, which is brought to you by Miles Franklin. They've been in business selling gold since 1990, and I'm a customer because when you buy, they ship. To find out more, go to milesfranklin.com or call them at 800-822-8080 and get a free quote. This is Kerry Lutz, Financial Survival Network, and it's time for another Triple Lutz Report. Happy July 4th to all of you out there. Again, I just can't thank you enough for being part of the Financial Survival Network community. These are indeed the times that try men's souls. We see a country where the individual was sovereign and the state only existed to perform the most basic functions needed to guard liberty. That state has now turned into a super state where the government wants to determine what you eat, what kind of car you drive, how you raise your children, how you save, what you use for money, and they want power over virtually every aspect of your life. I'm not so sure that it's possible to just opt out of the system, as Chris Duane encourages us to do. While I certainly believe that we can all become more independent and exercise more control over your life and over your destiny, you are still in an age of interdependence. Interdependence, in theory, as Adam Smith said, means division of labor. You know very well what that is. You might be a better farmer or butcher than I am. I might be a better talk show host. I really don't want to be a farmer, but my friend PJ loves raising goats, God love her. And this is why cities sprang up, and this is why first Great Britain and then the U.S. came to prominence. We did division of labor better than anyone else at the time. And you didn't have a government that got in the way telling you what to produce, how to do it, and make sure you paint it green and not red. But other countries have figured out the game. China, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand. But division of labor can only lead to prosperity if free men are able to pursue their interests without the government trying to screw it up because they think they know better than you, which always invariably leads to one of my favorite targets, Mayor Nanny Bloomberg. You'll find him officiating at the annual Nathan's Coney Island hot dog eating contest. You will see people gobbling up 19,000 calories, that's the number of calories in 62 hot dogs, in just 10 minutes. And if this guy, if he really gets going, he might hit 20,000 calories ingested in just 10 minutes. And Nanny thinks that that's far healthier than drinking a double gulp beverage in an hour. And look, I actually like Bloomberg. I met him once at his company picnic. He seemed to be a good guy, but give a good person power over millions of people for too long, and this is what you wind up with. Last week I was in California, had a meeting just a few minutes from the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, and the deterioration, the decay that you see in Los Angeles, Santa Monica, even creeping into Beverly Hills, it's just staggering. But the Presidential Library tour was an amazing experience. I loved every single moment of it. And if you haven't been there, it's definitely worth the trip. It was touching, it was moving, and it was powerful. A few key items were left out, such as Reagan's divorce from Jane Wyman, which made him the first president who had ever been through a divorce in the history of the country, and the obvious onset of Alzheimer's in his second term. But otherwise, it was pretty accurate. It dealt with Iran-Contra, dealt with some controversial issues. The media was always berating Reagan's intellect. The elites always made fun of him, and yet, unlike many presidents, since he wrote many of his own speeches, he wrote his radio addresses when he was an announcer and a spokesman for GE. And these writings show a mind that was very much aware of the problems of the day and very engaged in finding solutions. But the one thing that you got from going there was that he was a giant of a man. He was the great communicator. He started out in radio as a sportscaster, near and dear to my heart. He learned how to connect with people far better than anyone has done since who has become president. And I'm not even going to talk about Obama's wonderful teleprompter reading skills. That is a whole different level. This man connected on a personal level, and we just haven't seen that since. And he was a kind and decent man. He understood that government was the problem and not the solution, and that's been quoted so many times. It's the exact opposite philosophy of every president who's been in the White House since. And look, while he couldn't stop the spending juggernaut, he cut taxes, he slowed the party down in Washington, and he gave us increased prosperity that lasted for quite a while. One of the coolest parts of the museum, and there were many, was the old Air Force One Boeing 707. And for its day, it was a pretty cool ride. There was also a near exact replica of the Oval Office. And that was just blew me away because it really felt like you were in the White House. As many of you know, I'm not overly optimistic about the prospects for our country and the world insofar as overcoming the ongoing global economic cataclysm. But I do believe, as did Reagan, that if people understand exactly what's happening to you and you're able to plan for it, you'll get through this intact and ready for the next upcycle, which is going to be amazing. Once government gives up trying to be all things to all people, and it goes back to just a few limited purposes, there's really no limit to what you can accomplish. And that's why we at the Financial Survival Network are celebrating this day with hope for the future and confidence that even if you're allowed to consume a 48-ounce triple gulp beverage, and you'll decide for yourself that you don't want it, and that you don't want the government promising to give you stuff, and in exchange, you give up your liberty to get it. You are only as helpless and dependent as you allow yourself to be. So celebrate Independence Day. Happy July 4th. Never forget, always live for the journey. This is Kerry Lutz, been another Triple Lutz Report, signing off.